Happy Tuesday. Hello, everyone. I'm going to get my other camera set up here. Thank you for joining on day 2 of 6 days and 6 steps to financial freedom. I am Nicole Petaway, and I am excited to bring you another day's worth of valuable information to help you during this April Financial Literacy Month. So I'm going to get my make sure my other computer is going so I can see the comments, and I'll be right back. All right. Hey, babe. I can see the comments now. Hello there, everyone. We'll be getting started in just a second. I'm going to give a couple minutes for people to get on. Hope everyone's evening is going well. Tamara, hello. Yohanes, hello there. I got some good stuff to cover, guys. I am going to break it down tonight. We're going to talk about some serious things around residual and leveraged income and really give you some insight on what that really means and how important it is to have financial freedom. So definitely stay tuned. If you know people who can benefit from this information, please share. This is stuff that is going to really enlighten some folks. And of course, there will be an action step or two at the end to make sure that not only are we learning this stuff, but we're also taking steps to apply what it is that we learn. So I don't believe in not taking action on the things that you learn. Knowledge is good, but knowledge is power when you apply the things that you learn. So that's my goal for everyone, that you can find a nugget of information that you can take out of these series and be able to apply it in some way in your own personal life or the lives of those that you love. So that's my goal with this whole series, is to do that. So tonight we're going to talk about financial freedom and residual and leveraged income. Because to truly have financial freedom, it is a necessity. It's not an option. You must have residual and leverage income. All right. Tawana, hello there. So I'm going to break it down and start with at least the definition of what is residual income, what is leverage income. That's definitely a core part of financial literacy and financial freedom, is to understand those definitions. So residual income is income that continues to be generated after you've done something one time. So you may invest once and it pays you over and over and over again without you having to do anything. You can be asleep and earning money. That's what's called residual income. Leverage income is using the efforts of others to gain income. So it's not just what you do, it's what other people do. And I love this definition of leverage income, or this quote around leverage income. J. Paul Getty, and if you guys haven't seen this book or read this book, you need to get it. It's called How to Be Rich by J. Paul Getty. If somebody can type that into the comments, J. Paul Getty, How to Be Rich. Very good book in terms of understanding the basics of investing, the basics of financial literacy, and how to make your money grow for you. And here's the saying that he says, and I love this. He says, I'd rather have 1% of the efforts of 100 men than 100% of the efforts of one man. And that's actually leverage. That's actually leverage income when we talk about leverage. So that's really powerful to say, I'd rather have 1% of 100 than 100% of one, meaning I don't want to just solely rely on me to make money. I want to leverage the efforts of other people. So that's a really powerful concept. And then residual income is, again, you do something once and you get paid over and over and over again. So we're going to talk about the difference between leverage, income, residual, and why it's important. And the best way that I've learned to explain this, and this book was so profound and really changed my life, is this book right here, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. So if you guys have not read this book, that's an action step to read this book if you haven't. This book definitely breaks it down and shows you the difference between leverage, residual, and what's called, and through his concept called the cash flow quadrant. So I'm going to explain to you the cash flow quadrant, and I'm going to use leverage and residual income as a way to be able to do that. So if you can see the board here, make sure you can see it. I'm going to be breaking down the cash flow quadrant because this is essential to know. This is something you can teach your kids. In fact, I believe this book should be required reading in middle school, because as early as middle school, kids can start to understand the concept. And if you haven't read it, it's really about the fact that Robert Kiyosaki had what he called his rich dad and his poor dad. His poor dad was his biological father. His rich dad was a father of his friends. And his rich dad taught him the traditional thing, go to school, get an education, get a job, right? But he saw in his parents' life that really wasn't working because his parents were still not where they needed to be financially. But then his poor dad basically told him, no, you need to start a business and become an entrepreneur, and you have unlimited wealth and income earning opportunities. And so he compares and contrasts throughout the book the advice that he got from his rich dad, who went on to own a bunch of businesses and become very wealthy, to his poor dad. So this quadrant illustrates that, and I'm going to talk about this a little bit. So let's talk about the first one. The way this is set up is 4 quadrants. You have one, the first quarter upper left is the employee, and this is the person who earns what we call linear or earned income. So let's talk about that concept. Linear or earned income. That means that it's money that you actively earn by doing something. So you're essentially trading hours for dollars. You work 1 hour, you get paid for 1 hour. You work 1 week, you get paid for 1 week. You don't work, you don't get paid. So it's solely dependent on you. Your efforts is solely dependent on you. And as an employee, your livelihood is based on that of your employer and their decision whether or not to have you as an employee. So that's the first quadrant, is the employee quadrant. The second quadrant, and actually 95% of the people earn 100% of their pay in this quadrant. So this is the majority of the people. This is what you have. The next area is the self-employed, so the S. So this is the S quadrant. This too also is linear and earned income, because this is someone like a doctor or a barber or a cosmetologist or a coach, where someone is solely responsible for their business. You own your own time. However, you still are trading time for dollars, because guess what? If you're not working cutting hair or seeing patients or coaching clients, you're not making any money, right? So it's still the similar concept in terms of linear and earned income. So this whole left side of this quadrant is based on you trading time for dollars. And so that's not a bad thing, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but in order to have true financial freedom where your time is your own, and when I talk about financial freedom, I'm not talking about just having money. It's having the freedom and the options and not having to be bound by 40 hours a week or 2 weeks of vacation. Or if I need to go on vacation, I'm losing money because I'm not there to run my business. So these aren't bad things, because the majority of Americans fall within these two categories. It's just that we need to be able to have true financial freedom. You need to cross over to this right side of the quadrant, and we're going to talk about that. And this is where leveraged and residual income kick in on this right side of the quadrant. So I'm going to step back a little bit so you can see. So If you look at this right side, now we get to the B. The B is for business owners or big business. This is where you start to get leverage income. You've got a system in place. You have multiple people that work for you, right? And this is probably your job, right? Someone hired you. They leverage you to make them money. So when we work for a job, for a company, we are being leveraged. And so they have a system in place where they are leveraging the efforts of others. So if I run a company and I've got people to work for me, I don't necessarily have to be there, do I? I can leverage the efforts of the people that I bring in or the systems that I have in place to make me money so that I don't necessarily have to be there, and I'm not trading time for dollars. So that's a huge designation for the business, and you generally have systems in place. So let's talk about some examples of the business, the big business. So you have corporations, big companies. You also have hospitals, things like hospitals. Franchises are an example, opening up multiple chains of a place where you've got multiple distribution channels. The same thing goes with network marketing. Network marketing is a great example of being able to get leveraged income, because when you join network marketing, you are building a team of people that you can then leverage their efforts. And unfortunately, some people frown upon network marketing, but I want to tell you, this gentleman, Robert Kiyosaki, who wrote this book, actually said network marketing is a good thing because it's a quick and easy way to actually get into building leverage with a low entry cost without having to start up a full-fledged business. You're already walking into a business system that you plug into and you start to earn income off of the efforts of other people. So leverage income is really a great way to start to get that financial freedom because you don't necessarily have to be there. All right. Then we move into the next one, the I, which is the investor. This is the highest area of the cash flow quadrant because this is where you have true financial freedom. This is where we call what's passive or residual income. When you invest once and you get paid over and over and over again. That is where true financial freedom can kick in. And so an investor, examples of investing is things like real estate, right? You buy property. You can flip it to make money. You can rent it out. And renting it out is probably the better example because the flipping requires work to do, right? But if you rent the property out, you get someone in there and you get paid month over month over month. Airbnb, renting out your property. That's a great example of passive income. You're renting out your property for someone to use. So that's another great example of on the real estate side. Of course, you've got stocks. You've got bonds where you invest. You put up a certain amount of money and your money grows. This is the space that Warren Buffett plays in. He is probably the biggest and the best example of someone who's leveraging this field through his investments, what he does called value investing. He stays in it for the long term and he makes his living primarily here. Now, he does have businesses that he owns, but his bread and butter is in the I space. So when you think about, again, network marketing plays in this space as well, under the investor space, because not only do you get the leverage income of other people, but you also get the residual income. Most network marketing organizations have residual income. That means that they're getting something on a regular basis that's consistent, usually monthly basis. You're earning some residual income, whether it's products that you have, services that you offer, you're earning money on a residual basis. This is the highest level. And you pay once, like I said, and it continues to grow. The goal, guys, of financial freedom is to get here. And I'll tell you this, when you think about retirement, and retirement isn't an age, it's actually when you're able to stop working, right? It doesn't mean that it has to be 62 or 65. Generally, people work that long because all they have is this and they're relying on the Social Security. So, when you get here over to the I space, this is where your money starts to grow. And if you build up your investing while you're working, While you're here, you can be working on this and investing, and at some point you build up enough investments where you can actually live off of the dividends that your investments pay, whether that's rental property, whether that's a network marketing business, whether that is things like foreign exchange and investing in the Forex market. Those are all things that will grow over time, where if you decide you don't want to work, whether I'm too old or whether I just don't want to work anymore, you have these other things to fall back on. So this cash flow quadrant is very powerful. And what I tell everybody, you can be here and you can even play in several of these spaces. I personally play in all 4 of these quadrants. I am still working, but guess what I'm doing? The money that I'm earning here, I'm putting it into here so I can eventually shift all the way over here. I have a business. I started my business as a health and wealth coach. So I have an LLC where I coach people, but I'm still trading time for money, right? So now if I shift over here, I'm saying, well, what do I want to do? Well, I eventually want to get rid of this one altogether, because you're bound by, you got to work X number of hours a week. You only have X number of, weeks of vacation, whatever the case may be. And shift over here where you've got a system in place for a business that's working for you. And you also have some investments. So let's talk about some of the other things that you can do. If you're an entrepreneur, you own your business, there are some things that you can do to monetize, to make that shift from here over to here. So you can do things like, if you're, a coach or something like that, you can write a book, become an author. You can create an online course where people can go in and purchase your course. You can create memberships where people can pay a residual fee so that you don't have to continuously trade time for money. So that is a great system for you to think about. I want to take some time now to see if I have any questions. All right, I don't see any questions popping up. So if there are any questions, go ahead and type your questions in the comments. But if you don't understand this cash flow quadrant, this is very important, because at the end of the day, most of us are here and we're stuck, because if a job decides that they don't want you anymore, if all your livelihood is here, then that's a problem. Now, if you are here, you can play in this space by contributing to your retirement account, right? Your 401k. 401k is this essentially, because you're building up money that's growing over time. But you have to think about what other things can I do to expedite it from a financial freedom standpoint? Well, you can start to look at business systems. What kind of business system I get? And again, I am a proponent of network marketing because it's an easy way to get started in a business and start to earn leverage income and residual income. Here's a statistic that I want to share with you about leverage and residual income. In this book, and this is another book that I want you guys to check out. This book is called The Millionaire Next Door. If someone can write that in the comments. It's called The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley. The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas Stanley. Because again, if you want to be like the rich, you have to think like the rich, and you have to study and educate yourself like the rich. As I've mentioned yesterday, I'm a fan of 3 steps of improving whatever it is that you're trying to work on, anything that you're trying to improve. So if it's financial freedom, the first step is education. The second step is preparation. And the third step is action. So you got to learn, you got to prepare yourself to make whatever changes you need to make, and then you need to make them. Those are the 3 aspects. And that's what I cover in my coaching program, are those 3 steps to make any kind of changes that you need, whether it's with your health, with your finances, whatever it is that you want to improve upon. So in The Millionaire Next Door, he says 3 out of 4 American millionaires own their own business. So 3 out of 4, 75% of the millionaires are shifted onto this side of the cash flow quadrant. And so think about to yourself, what are some of the things that I can do to shift myself over here? If you're not playing in this space at all, then it's definitely something you want to do if you want to improve your finances. If you're here, or maybe you're here, or maybe you're both, you definitely want to start to shift over to this right side of the cash flow quadrant so that you too can leverage the efforts of other people or a system in place that's working for you, or have money that's working for you when you're asleep. If you can have a system where money is working for you when you're asleep, that's a beautiful thing. And that's ultimately what's going to lead you to financial freedom. Because guys, at some point, we're going to stop working. We're just not going to physically be able to work. So what will you do? You've got to have leveraged or residual income. I know I personally, don't want my standard of living to go down. And that's why so many people work for years beyond retirement, because they don't have this part of the system in place. So action step. Think about this. What are some things that you can do to get yourself shifted? Well, number one, the action step is, get this, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This book is inexpensive. I think it's like $20, if that. I actually have the, last year he released his 20-year edition. So it's got a lot of the same content, but it's more modernized. Although this is in the original one. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you can get it via Kindle digitally if you don't like reading books, but I recommend, if you haven't read it, you should let your kids read it. My kids read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's something that everyone needs to understand. The second step that you need to do is identify a source for shifting over to this right quadrant if you're not already there, or if you are, think about some additional things that you can do. I highly recommend network marketing to consider. I personally got my start into entrepreneurship through network marketing and learning strategies about how to use leverage income. A little story about me: prior to me joining my network marketing company, I was Miss Corporate America. I was stuck here. And I had dreams of becoming a C-level executive here. And what I realized is that, I was being leveraged, and I did not have any leverage power. I was stuck in a reverse residual situation. I had residual bills, right? Our telephone bills, our mortgages. We have these residual bills that we keep paying somebody month over month over month, but I wasn't necessarily getting the same thing coming in. And so that opened my eyes, and it actually changed my personal career goal to shift from here to over here on a full-time basis. So my goal is to get here, and I'll still be dabbling in this space and the B as a business owner, because I definitely want to have a business, but this is going to be a huge part of my future. And eventually I want to have the majority of my income coming in from the I. So food for thought, things to think about. Very powerful information once you understand that concept. There's many different ways to get leverage and residual income. If you are cash strapped, there's ways that you can actually kickstart your journey. And again, network marketing is a great way to do that because it's fairly inexpensive to get started, and you learn the skills to shift you over here to this area. Tomorrow, we're going to be spending a little bit more time about the people in this space, the B's and the I's, and also the S, when we talk about Uncle Sam and taxes, which is most people's single biggest expense is taxes. So we're going to talk about, to get true financial freedom, you've got to be able to leverage Uncle Sam and get Uncle Sam out your pockets and on your side, because guess what? The people over here and also right here get tax preferential treatment. Believe it or not, the people in the east side are at a bigger disadvantage than the people that are in these other three quadrants. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow, related to taxes and how you can get yourself a kickstart by getting Uncle Sam out your pockets and move yourself over here, whether it's through investing or whether it's through business ownership. So if there aren't any other questions, I would say that's my time. If you want to know more about network marketing opportunities and ways that you can get started shifting over to this other side, I certainly, you can follow up with me, or if someone else actually invited you to listen in because they wanted you to understand, definitely follow back up with them, guys. But this is an important aspect of financial freedom, is knowing where you fall in the cash flow quadrant and what is your plan to get yourself from here over to here. All right? That's my time, guys. Look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your evening.